Hey, Warren Eckstein here. Today I want to talk a little bit about training, my expertise. I've been trained over 40,000 animals myself. I have a good handle on what it's all about. But what I want to talk about today is something more specific. Did you know of the millions of dogs that wind up at shelters every single year? Of the millions, that almost half of them that are turned in for behavioral reasons are between the ages of 5 months old and 2 years. So why are all these young dogs essentially winding up at shelters? 5 months old, 6 months old, a year old, 2 years old. What's the problem here? I try to explain to people that dogs go through their teenage years just like we do. And when a dog does go through these teenage years, they can be a little bit rebellious. They can challenge authority just like human teenagers do. So here's what's really important. When you get a dog into your home, now I don't care what age they are, whether you adopt a puppy or adopt a 6 or a 7 or a 12-year-old dog, it doesn't make any difference. It's really, really important to educate the dog in terms of what's expected and what's not expected. The problem is too many trainers and people over-expect from their dog. Let their dog enjoy life. If the dog wants to walk in front of you, as long as he's not schlepping you down the block, hey, I'm okay with that. My dog doesn't have to walk at my left side, plus the fact I don't want him pooping there anyway. So what about training? Why are so many dogs winding up? Well, training is important, but you know what's just as important, if not more important, is socializing a young dog. The more socialization a dog receives in terms of around people, different sounds, other dogs, other animals can make all the difference in the world. I'll give you a prime example. I get calls all the time and emails all the time, people saying, listen, Warren, my dog is 10 months old. When is he going to outgrow some of the behaviors that he's doing, the jumping, the humping, the whatever? And I explain to them that you should start socializing and educating your dog right when you get them, no matter what age they are. The same energy, let's take a puppy, for example. People get a nice 8-week-old, a 10-week-old puppy, they bring it home, and everyone oohs and ahs, they love it, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, whatever. And what happens is, at 8 or 9 weeks old, jumping up is cute. Humping your leg is cute. Digging a little hole may be cute. It's not so cute when the dog's 60 or 70 pounds. So it's not the dog's fault you didn't take the time to teach him how to read. And that's what training is. It's teaching the dog how to read. It gives you the ability to communicate in a positive way. Forget all that adversive, negative BS training that's out there. It should be positive. So for example, if I'm working with an 8-week-old or a 10-week-old puppy, of course it's a puppy. But even while I'm playing with it, what I'll do is maybe tuck his little butt and say sit. Part of its play period. So I try incorporating some of the education into the dog as soon as they come into my house. Because if you do that, chances are you're going to have a dog that's really well-behaved. What is well-behaved? Well-behaved for me is different than well-behaved for you. There are people out there who want their dog at the left side all the time, to sit every time, to do this, to do that. I want my dog to respond 85% of the time because that's about how much I respond, okay? So I'm not looking for perfection. If you want perfection, go to Radio Shack, get a dog with a battery. Socialization and training is critical. You know, not so much anymore, but when I lived on the East Coast, I would spend at least 3 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a day at different shelters all across the East Coast. And what I would be doing is rehabilitating dogs that were turned in by their, I hate the word owners, but these were owners that took their dogs and turned them in because they didn't want them anymore because of behavioral issues, not understanding that it's their fault that the dog's behaving that way. So I want you to understand this. Training, socialization is important. But it has to be fun. Not only for you, it has to be fun for the dog as well. And in terms of training itself, here's the problem. Most behavioral issues develop from inconsistency. I talk about this all the time. The husband tells the dog to jump on the couch. The wife tells the dog to get off the couch. Then the dog calls me on the phone and says, Warren, isn't that the definition of neurosis? Yeah, it is. So I always recommend that there's some consistency. If you have a dog in the house, you're not going to be perfect. I mean, I love my dogs to jump up, but I taught them to jump up on a specific word. So just remember, if there's 2 people in a house or 3 people in a house, have that consistency there. Everyone should do it the same way, or pretty close to the same way. When I was doing a lot of training, what I would do is I would never just go to your home, and I prefer training in the home. I would never just go to your home and say, listen, I'm going to work with you today. I'm going to work with you today. Not only would I be working with the dog, but I'd be working with the entire family. If grandma lived upstairs or an aunt and uncle lived next door and took care of the dog. So everyone was kind of on the same page in terms of what the dog wanted. There's nothing more devastating to me, and so many thousands and thousands of blessed humane workers out there and rescue workers, going into a shelter, seeing a dog that's an incredible dog, just an incredible dog, but you see that the dog has been through either a lot or totally ignored. And then they wind up not getting adopted. They wind up, well, I don't have to tell you where many of them do wind up, which should be stopped as well. I just want to leave you with this, okay? Again, dogs, just like people, go through stages of life: neonatal, imprint, juvenile, adult. We do the same thing. So if you have a dog, and let's say your dog is behaving well at 8 months old, but all of a sudden, at a year and a half old, some of that behavior changes. It's just the dog going through some changes. Adapt. Don't let the dog get away with things he shouldn't get away with, but adapt. Adapt a little bit. Maybe more exercise. Maybe more. Maybe give your dog a job. Maybe some more advanced training. Not because I care whether the dog does it or not, but just gives the dog something to do. So I want you to understand. What I would like to do is close every shelter in the country, and I think the rescue workers and humane workers would be the happiest people on the unemployment line. So I want you to focus on remembering that dogs go through stages just like we do. So if you have a dog and all of a sudden he's doing something bad, I know you, my listeners, would never do it, but many people do. All of a sudden the dog peed in the house after a year and he's at the shelter the next day. They deserve better. Dogs deserve better. I'm Warren Eckstein. See you on the Pet Show.